our job is to fight and win America's wars, period. So whether it's in a training environment or in real combat, it matters that you put in 100% effort all the time. And if you think about it doctrinally, we're taught to fight at a 3-to-1 ratio. And today was a 1-to-1 ratio, which reflects real peer-to-peer combat. So I think it was more realistic today.
So how does CLDT prepare you for real war?
Teaches you about grit and how to pull through when everything's hard. When everything's stacked against you, you need that mental fortitude to look at one another and say, we're going to win. I don't care that it's 1-to-1 odds. We will find a way to defeat the enemy.
I think that's probably the most important weapon that the U.S. Army can have is cohesion, because in many examples of smaller forces taking out a larger one, because it was a cohesive group of people who all trusted each other with their lives, and because of that, they're able to do extraordinary things.
When we create a force where our senior enlisteds and our junior officers are able to make decisive action, it makes it really hard for those on the other side to combat us. Because if they take this most senior ranking person down, it doesn't matter.
The United States Army is by far and away the greatest ground fighting force that the history of the world has ever seen, but we can always be better. We want to widen that gap between us and our adversaries as much as possible to make it so we can destroy them quicker than they can destroy us, to the point where hopefully they're so scared of us we won't even have to go to war.
How does this prepare you to fight and succeed in the big army?
Because the purpose of West Point is to train you to be an officer once you graduate, the training that we're doing here today is quite reflective, actually, of what we'll be doing with our units once we take over of a platoon of our own. So once we leave this place, once we go to officer training for a few weeks and leave and take over a platoon, we'll be more in tune with the men and women that we'll be leading, given that we're going through very similar training that they are.
If someone asks you to explain what CLDT is in 15 seconds, what would you tell them?
It's the last real tactical development you're going to get before you go into the Army. And so it's both kind of a reality check to know where you're at physically, mentally, but that's also a good training exercise.
We do things that no other country, nation, anyone does in the world. No one had the resource that we do. No one had the fighting capabilities nor force that we have. And doing this just flexes on the idea that we are now so prepared for anything that comes to us, comes against us, that we have the capabilities of people that are familiar with what to expect, as well as those that are confident with what they do. For myself, I traveled to most other military academies across the world, and I really have learned to appreciate how much the U.S. government, how much effort they put into the United States Military Academy, as well as our other branches in the military. And recognizing, understanding what they put on the table is recognizing also what they expect out of it.
How does cadet leader development training make you the best possible soldier?
West Point gives you a lot of cool opportunities where you genuinely learn how to work as a team. You learn how to motivate people. You learn how to get people to do the right thing. And I think this is one of the best opportunities to do so.
CLDT has changed the way that I look at being a soldier by just making me aware of how much the Army is really a big team. CLDT is one of the first details where everything you're doing depends on someone else. Like your grade and how you perform is wholly dependent on what they're doing. If they're doing their job right, if they're keeping security, if they're working hard or giving their best performance, everything depends on somebody else. And that's truly unique because it doesn't really happen often. And this detail has really made me realize that when you're on that field, when you're in war, you're looking to your left and your right, your brothers and sisters to help you. You got to trust them. You put your life in their hands. And that's something special. That's a bond that can't be broken. And for me, going into the force and keeping that in mind, I think it just expresses that the Army really is a place of cohesion and unity and brings people together, a melting pot of people together. And I can't look at it any other way.
Some of us are going to be expected to do this kind of stuff day in and day out. And if our nation calls for us to go to some sort of conflict, we need to have those military skills built up so we're ready to do whatever it takes.
I think CLDT is so important because it allows us to put our training into action. We all know how to plan missions. We all know how to execute missions on paper, right? But executing them to this level, CLDT is the only opportunity that we have as cadets. And it really prepares us for what's to come.
Why does CLDT make you the most lethal force on the face of the earth?
And we've been in the suck, the grit, sleepless nights, days in, days out. We know what it takes, and we have to now, after this training, continue to harden ourselves. Iron sharpens iron, and sharpen that spear, that when we take control and we're leading, that we are lethal. We learn what combat is going to take, or that how to act under sleep deprivation, how to act when we're hungry, and then not only just focus on ourselves, but focus on everyone else around us who's sleep deprived and hungry, and motivate them to be lethal and take action to the enemy, take ruthless aggression so we can fight and win America's wars.
How does this training enhance lethality of our men and women in uniform?
First and foremost, I think it gives you some grit. You can't be lethal if you can't endure what it takes to warfight. Just every day you're rucking, every day you're under your own weight. You have everything you need to survive, and you have to plan. Everything we do is planned by ourselves. We're given a mission, and then we have to figure it out. So the lethality is increased by just giving you all the basic, hard skills that you need to have to be able to endure what it takes to not get killed. And if you can't get killed, then it's easier to kill the other guy.
There's a good quote that I think really applies here, and it's that you don't rise to the occasion, you fall back on the highest level of your training, so that once you do get out in the field and you end up in a tough situation or some kind of fight, what you have to do is simply muscle memory and not something you have to really think through and delay on.
Let's talk about lethality. How does the training that you received here make you the most lethal fighting force?
Being a warrior and living that sort of lifestyle isn't something you just decide to do one day. We've been given missions, we've been given things that we've had to do over these 9 days, and every single time, we've had the option of not doing it. I don't know how that would have gone for any of us if we decided not to, but we got up and we chose to do it. When indirect fire hit our patrol base at 10:30 on a Friday night in the middle of July, when most of our peers are probably not doing what we're doing, which is sleeping in the middle of the woods. There wasn't a single person in our patrol base that looked up and went back to sleep or just said, I don't want to do this anymore. Every single person within 2 or 3 minutes had their full uniform on, had everything in their rucksack and had it on their back, and was sprinting down a hill to get to our rally point. So I'm a better warrior because when I have to deal with stuff like that downrange, I know I've been here before.
Having resilient leaders is really important. So being able to push through those physical, those mental, maybe even spiritual blockages you're having is really important. Being able to bring that into 1,000 different future leaders every summer, I think is really important to creating a fighting force that's always ready to push through that last effort, that next stop that other forces may be more inclined to get hung up on rather than complete missions through.
And I genuinely believe that the Army spends a considerable amount of effort in investing in its future leaders. And at the end of the day, future leaders ensure that the Army continues to be lethal.
I think a big reason why we're such a lethal force is because everyone knows the mission, everyone knows to carry on, and everyone trusts their leadership.
What's the toughest part of CLDT?
I think for me, the toughest part of CLDT is learning how to navigate all your tasks with only a few hours of sleep. The physical aspect, you can always train physically, but most of the time you're giving your body proper rest and nutrition will take all of that aspect out, and it's a little bit more difficult to be able to think clearly. You kind of have a cloud over your head while making decisions and trying to keep everybody motivated at the same time and trying to be that morale booster. So definitely the mental aspect.
And not only does it force yourself to have grit, but as a leader and in that role, you have to be focused on everyone around you and making sure that they're okay to push through and they have that grit. And you're that leader in the front to show them that there is a light at the end of the tunnel and that there's a reason to keep pushing and keep pushing through, no matter how dark it is.
It's kind of a proving ground for a lot of new tech. And we're looking at how we can apply that new tech and sort of get in on it and get the jump on it before the next potential major conflicts.
Of the things that we know about, food, sleep, hygiene, what has your life been like over the last 9 days?
None of that, really. I mean, I haven't showered in 9 days. Sometimes I don't even have time to brush my teeth, which sounds pretty disgusting. Now I'm used to eating food that's okay. Not getting really comfortable sleep, but I think that's training us to get comfortable to the uncomfortable.
A little less than 12 hours ago, and we were getting attacked in our patrol base at 1 a.m. 15 minutes into my my turn to sleep, and sometimes you can kind of lose a sight a little bit. But when you have like a purpose like that, and you remember that if I wasn't there, then somebody else might have been in that situation, it keeps you going.
The reason why, in the first place, we were woken up is because I think I had to do something with our security and keeping security up, and just always staying prepared and being ready for those tough situations. So yes, it was an inconvenience, and yes, it did suck, but it was teaching us a greater lesson to stay vigilant.
When we do these things, there's a lot of emphasis on kind of the physical aspect of it, of carrying heavy weight and going long distances. But it's really the mental kind of fortitude that you build from those experiences that really stays with you. So I think that is what builds our lethality, right? When you're physically degraded, when you're carrying heavy gear, and when you still have to perform a mission set, that you can have the mental clarity to actually succeed and focus on what you have to do. And I think CLDT does that to a T.
All of a sudden, we had to work with people who we hadn't worked with this entire time. And of course, all of us are low on sleep and we're all hungry and tired. So trying to figure that out was a whole nother level of mental gymnastics and leadership, because it's one thing to lead with the person that you were in the foxhole with for a week, and it's another thing to have to suddenly lead with somebody brand new.
If you're the person that people are looking to, if you stay motivated, they will follow you. And so just sticking it out, gritting it out, and getting through it was the best tool I had.
The toughest moment specifically over the last 9 days?
One of the big things about CLDT that's different than some of the other trainings is that we're doing things with actual real weaponry. So not just these M4s that we're holding, but light and heavy machine guns, different kinds of explosives, rocket launchers in some cases. And so we had all that added weight on our backs.
I was carrying the M240 Bravo up that hill at night under night vision goggles. For me, that was a very physically taxing moment. At the time, I was like, no, you just keep going uphill. You don't know when it's going to end. And I think for me, the good thing about it is that I didn't quit. I persevered. And, we got to the top, we got to the ambush site. But I can't just stress enough how physically exhausting it is to carry that weapon system up a mountain, up a hill, and then to continue the mission afterwards, because the mission isn't complete. That's only like halfway there. So I think that was probably the toughest moment for me on a physical example, sir.
I think morale in the platoon is very high right now. And I think that morale is a crucial aspect that often gets left out. Physically, we may be hurting, we may be tired, we may be hungry, but as long as the spirit of the platoon is there and we're ready to go, I think everyone will be ready, and I know they are.
And how does CLDT influence that spirit?
I think CLDT influences that spirit because it puts you in situations in which morale is one of the only pieces that can pull you through. Teamwork is one of the only pieces that can pull you through. Everyone here has been challenged on this detail in ways that we never have before. And we've had to find things, mechanisms, other people to help us through it. And so those shared experiences build that bond, and it builds that morale over time. And so going into this crucible, We all have a kind of shared picture. We all know where we've come from and where we're going, and the experience and the just the happiness and the fulfillment of the detail will definitely shine through. We all do military training during the school year, and we all take military classes that educate us on sort of the academic or intellectual portion of how to run these operations. But in a practical sense, when we're out here and we're running these missions, we don't have any of the resources we have available in those classes or in those exercises. We don't have Army doctrine. We have what we carried out with us, and we have each other. And I think that being able to fight when that's all you have to lean to the people to the left and right of you, and you have to rely on what you know, and you have to realize that it's not going to be 100% perfect every time, but you can still get the mission done when conditions are scarce, or whether it's nighttime, when you're hungry, when you're tired. I think that really kind of builds the warrior aspect of what we're trying to get here at CLDT.
What did this training teach you that you had not learned until now?
You really have to understand every perspective, and that's why you get put in every role, whether it's a member of squad, a squad leader, a platoon sergeant, or a platoon leader. You have to understand the perspective of everybody in that platoon, in that unit, from the lowest member to the highest member. What are they actually experiencing on a long movement in the middle of a night ambush? How can I better their life and their ability to do their job as a leader? That's what I learned most about.
There's this perception, or it tends to be a perception on officers, that they stay in the rear, more direct and coordinate the battle. But the way cadet leader development training works is that it puts you, a future officer, into the heat of the moment, so that you think quick on your feet, and so that you are ready, so that you are more in tune with what your soldiers experience out on the front lines.
How did CLDT change you as a soldier?
It changed the way I go about being a soldier, in the way that it broadened my perspective. When you're in those sucky moments, and when the road marches are long and you're hurting and all you can feel is the pain, you start to kind of tunnel vision in on just myself. Like, I'm going to make it. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep fighting. And you work so hard on motivating yourself. But what I really learned is that the best way to kind of keep going is to actually look to the person next to you and check on them, see how they're doing. And CLDT kind of demands that of everybody. If you just tunnel vision and try to motivate yourself, it sometimes could not be enough. Whereas if you work on motivating the team and the squad next to you, it's enough to keep you guys going to the end of the objective or the mission.
Why are you a better leader, a better soldier because of CLDT?
I'm a better leader and soldier and warrior because of CLDT, because it confirmed to me that my intrinsic motivation is unwavered by harsh conditions. It's unwavered by the sleepiness and the famine and just the wanting to relax for a second. None of that matters, because my intrinsic motivation to defend those that are important to me and defend the country I love will outweigh all of it. I'm unapologetically patriotic, and so when I'm sitting here and I'm going through these things, and I'm going through the moments of waking up at 2, 3, 4 in the morning and thinking, why am I doing this? All I have to tell myself is that someone out there across the globe is trying to hurt those that are important to me, trying to hurt the country I love, and I will not let them. And so that mindset stayed the entirety of CLDT, and I can't ever imagine it'll go away.
You have 20 people that are looking at you in your every move to see how you're going to react to certain challenges and how you're going to help them get through the day. They're all looking at you, sir.
So tell me how you overcame it based on what you learned here, or what you learned at West Point.
Yes, sir. I think overall, it's just embracing the opportunity. There's a leader in all of us, and being able to sit back, understand what is going on for the day, what you need from your subordinate leaders, and persevering through whatever challenges there are, and utilizing those around you. That's the biggest thing. I think this teaches you teamwork, and it's gritty. It is gritty for sure, but it's gritty together. I think that's what matters, sir.
Being actually responsible for those elements when they go on the attack.
being behind the gun, being the one assaulting through the objective. Those skills are what we've been working on every single day, every single night for the last 9 days. And so that immersion into the tactical world, I think, is the biggest piece.
Yeah, I mean, prior to CLDT, we've taken 3 years of military science courses, which is a lot of just planning and just doctrine. But once you get out here in the field, you're getting really hands-on, getting time with hands-on of using the equipment and putting it into practice.
Platoon, all 32 of us are tired and hungry and hurting. But the reason I think that we are prepared and there's nothing that's going to stop us is because I know that no matter what I'm going through, I have 31 other people around me who I can count on to push me through, and that all 32 of us unanimously feel the same way. And so no matter how bad it gets, no matter how sorry we feel for ourselves, there's 31 other people who are willing to pick you up and drag you all the way to the end. And so I just really can't see a way in which we're not prepared.
West Point has put us through a 47-month experience of trials and tribulations that have cultivated to making us better people, better leaders, better people of characters. And this experience has just taught me that I'm capable of whatever I put my mind to.
You don't really get the satisfaction out of the easy paths. Like, everything that I've looked back on in my experience at West Point has very much been the stuff that has been the hardest, has been the most fulfilling and the most worthwhile.
Adapting to an entirely new schedule where you're expected to act a certain way. Like, we are disciplined as cadets, but it's being tactically disciplined is a completely different realm that we don't get much experience in. Or like they were saying, the lack of sleep, we don't eat very much, it's very hot all the time, and it's just planning. Half of the things don't go the way we want them to, and so it's just a massive you need to learn how to adapt to change. You need to learn how to overcome when things don't go the way you want them to still be successful at the end of the day. It's only gonna suck if you make it suck, but if you have a positive attitude and a positive mindset, it's not that bad.
I think that my mind is stronger than I think or I thought it was, right? We've been presented many scenarios, missions, and challenges here, and every time I saw one, I would say to myself, there's no way I could do that. No. They woke me up after only sleeping 2 hours. I said, there's no way that I could go a whole day right now. But being put in place in those situations and being given the opportunity to push myself to that extent really showed me that I am much more capable emotionally, physically, than I give myself credit for.
The biggest lesson I learned is the importance of individual discipline. I let my team down earlier when I fell asleep on the rifle while pulling security at night. And there's so many things that you need to be individually responsible for when you're a soldier or when you're a leader, such as physical fitness, tactical discipline, or even having the right mindset and the right attitude and not pushing negativity on your peers.
They always say that the Army is just a team sport. I think learning how to be a good teammate and a good follower and a good leader, just in any situation you're put in, kind of helps you in the future to where once you kind of gain the trust of your battle buddy, then you guys can do a lot more than you think you can.
If I could come here and challenge myself, I would develop not only academically, but mentally, physically, morally, militarily. And I feel that in coming here and doing these hard things and taking that hard path, I'm developing myself more as a person.
When you really sit down and look at it, all the hard challenges make you grow as a person and really make you look in deeper within yourself. West Point has taught me not to fear failure, but to embrace it, because you always end up growing and coming back a better version of yourself.
What is the value that CLT teaches you more than any other? If you could only speak of one value or trait or characteristic, what would you pick and why?
I would say character, sir. I think it's truly a blessing to suffer in something that you choose to do. It's the reason that we're all here. So I think having this opportunity to test your character when you're tired and when you're hungry and looking to those around you. I think that's the whole deal here.
I would say adaptability, sir, because there's going to be a lot of different situations you find yourself in, and you're not going to know how to react in every single scenario, but you're going to have to adapt and overcome.
Just be the teammate that you want beside you, to the left and to the right of you. Being a good teammate is picking up the heavy weapon system when you have the opportunity to pick up the lighter one, or being the person that stays up late to help with the briefings because you want to be there for the people around you.